and welcome back to another episode of Senior Spot. I'm Jenn Quinn, your host, and I'm very pleased today to have as a guest Dr. Tom Vita of Vita Chiropractic, in which we're going to learn all of the many benefits proactively and reactively to chiropractic health. So welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you're very welcome, and I know that the audience is going to be really pleased to hear so many of the different methods and the things that you do in your practice. And I know personally I've benefited from it, and both of my children have, but I know that the range of ages in which you see are quite vast, and I would love to first hear about how long you've been in practice and what your journey has been, and where you started and how you landed here.
Sure. Well, this year, 2017, marks my 42nd year in practice. Hard to believe that 42 years went by that quickly.
And you look this good.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yes, now that I'm a senior citizen myself, so there you go. I went to undergraduate college, University of Hartford in West Hartford, Connecticut, and I was a wrestler there. I wrestled in high school and I wrestled in college. And those wrestling injuries helped get me involved in chiropractic. First, my mother, I had graduated college, and my mother had developed a severe lumbar disc problem. This was in 1971, and she was supposed to have surgery to correct that problem. She couldn't get out of bed. She was stuck in severe pain, and she was scheduled for surgery. So I came home from where I was working at the time, and I asked, I said, why don't you try chiropractic? Because a good friend of mine from college was now going to chiropractic college. My mother resisted, but eventually she went with me. I brought her to a chiropractor I found locally where we were living, where she lived in New York. And the long and short of it was, in one visit, she was able to sleep through the night, first time in 7 weeks after her first treatment. Within 3 treatments, she was walking. Prior to that, she was totally laid up in bed. So she canceled the surgery and proceeded to get better and get involved in her activities. She was into bowling and golf and things like that, and she was able to get back to that. And she just recently turned 89 and is still going strong. So chiropractic.
And that was a good choice, and that
was a good choice for her at the time.
Got you hooked into believing in the benefits of it.
Absolutely, it got me interested because I said, "Wow!" It helped my mom. I said I had these chronic neck problems from when I was 15 till I was 23, and I said to the chiropractor, I said, you think you could help my neck? I wake up every morning, I can't turn my head, and I just assumed it was normal because the coaches always told me to just bear with it and don't worry about it, and that's just part of the price of being an athlete. So I started chiropractic care, and my neck got better. So I said, I should probably do this.
Okay.
And then I applied to chiropractic college, and I started in September of 1972. In chiropractic college at that time where I went was in New York City. It was called Columbia Institute of Chiropractic, which is now New York Chiropractic College, located in Seneca Falls, New York. And so at that time it was right in Manhattan. And it was a 9-semester program. So that comes out to 4.5 academic years because you go through the summers, you don't take the summers off.
Okay.
And you have an internship that you have to perform where you see a certain number of patients to be able to graduate. And then after that, you have to take national boards and then state board exams. At that point, now the national boards cover it for all the different states, right. But at that point it was national boards, then individual state exams.
Because a lot has taken place.
There was a lot
in the world of chiropractic care since you were...
Most certainly. When I started chiropractic college in 1972, there were no government loans. You could not get a loan. At this point, in 1975, government loans finally came into fruition. And now, of course, you can get government loans to go to chiropractic college. Doctor of Chiropractic degree is what you get when you graduate, and that degree is recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. And chiropractic is legal and licensed in all 50 states in the United States.
But it took a while for it to be that way.
It did take a while. Some of the states, the last 3 states to get licensure actually were Massachusetts, Mississippi, and Louisiana.
Interesting.
Massachusetts didn't get licensure until 1966. So I came here in 1975. That was only 9 years after licensure.
Okay.
And the chiropractors at that point before 1966 were subject to arrest and harassment by the laws at the time, because it was considered practicing medicine without a license, which really it wasn't, but that was how they got after them. In any case, they got licensure in 1966, and that was a big milestone. Last year in 2016 marked the 50th anniversary of chiropractic licensure in Massachusetts, so that was pretty exciting that it's gone from there. Back when I started school in the 70s, early 70s, chiropractic was not very mainstream compared to what it is at this point in time. Many people tried to dissuade me from becoming a chiropractor, telling me, oh, it's not legal, all kinds of different stories.
Well, I'm guessing you had the full backing, no pun intended, from your mom, because she believed in it. So
that's right.
That
My
must have
parents
made a
were
big
very
difference.
supportive, and they said, absolutely. And actually, where I had gone to undergraduate college, it was 8 or 9 of us became chiropractors, friends of mine who one person told another, and we all got involved. And I remember starting chiropractic college the first day and walking into the class, and there was one of my friends from undergraduate school there. So it was nice to have someone else to experience that with, and other people that came along.
And this runs in the family too, because there's Dr. DeVitas, like plural, in your practice as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
My son, Jamal, has been practicing with me now for 12 years. Actually, I tell people I work for him now.
It's kind of nice to have that reversal, I'm sure, and start cutting back on some hours.
Exactly. I've been able to cut back on hours, which is quite nice. He came to me when he was a junior in high school and said he wanted to be a chiropractor. I said, great. After you graduate college, we'll talk about it, but you got to be a science major. So he went to University of Vermont, graduated biological science major, and then he went on to chiropractic college and graduated in December 2004, which is now a 10-trimester course instead of 9 when I went, and it's increased, so that's 5 academic years. But you go through continually. The summers are not off, so it's a very professional school. It's a very intense program. You're taking probably 24, 25 credit hours every semester.
Right.
So it's just a lot of study, a lot of work, and then clinic and everything else past that point. So it's a rigorous program, and the licensing process, in order you have to be able to pass all those different exams and then demonstrate that you have proficiency and be able to work with people, because it's a very, as you know, hands-on profession.
Sure, I mean hands-on, and you know, it's interesting because I think when a lot of people envision chiropractic work, they think, you know, popping and pulling and adjusting.
Correct.
So I'm really excited to have you explain to our viewers the type of manipulation, whatever term that you use, the type of treatment that you use.
Certainly,
because there's no way I would have brought my own children to experience any popping, pulling, or doing anything of the sort. So could you tell us a little bit about the treatment that you use?
So for the first 3 years I was in practice, I used more traditional methods than the usual what we call diversified technique, which is the more traditional manipulation that people experience what they think of chiropractic to be. Kind of hands-on with the twisting, moving, that kind of thing, popping sound. Then my 3rd year in practice, I got involved with activator methods chiropractic technique. Now, activator methods, as of this year, 2017, just had its 50th anniversary. It's been in our profession 50 years. And at this point in time, from an evidence base, from research, we have over 150 papers in the scientific peer-reviewed literature and 23 clinical trials showing efficacy of what we're doing with
and the positive outcome of using it.
Very positive outcomes with what we're doing. So it's an instrument-based technique, basically what we call low force, high speed, moving a bone very quickly, anywhere from 300 to 1,000 times faster than you can with your hands. Now, many people will come, just like you said, they were afraid, particularly of getting their neck manipulated. They say, oh, I'm afraid that if someone adjusts my neck, it's going to hurt, or I'm going to tense up. And some people do.
Sure.
Some people enjoy that. And those techniques are very safe, and they do work very well. This is an alternative, and this brings me a lot of patients because they like this technique. Because it's a little more gentle to their body. So I'll just show you here. There's a couple of instruments I brought along with me. I don't know if you can see these on camera. This is a handheld model, and this is the new electronic instrument. It came out in 2012 after 7 years of research and development at Baylor College of Medicine, passed FDA approval, all kinds of things like that. But basically what it's doing is, if we think of this marble as a bone, and I want to move this bone with my hand, I have to generate a fair amount of force to make that move.
A lot of force.
So with the instrument, what I can do is I can get a more precise contact point than I can with my hand. I can take out the preload, which is this, if you notice here, it's got a little bit of give here, so that's called the preload. So you're taking out that preload, which makes it consistent from time to time. I can dial in the amount of force I want to use.
Okay.
So if I have a baby, I want to put less force in here.
Sure.
If I have an osteoporotic patient who's in their 80s and have brittle bones, I want to be less force. If I have a big football player, I want to put more force.
Okay.
So I can dial the amount of force I want to put in. I can contact the point more specifically right on there, and I can move it very quickly.
Wow.
So when you're moving it before the stretch reflex takes place, before the body has a chance to...
So before you have time to react to it, and before you have time to resist it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Before resistance or reaction, you're creating that bone movement. Now, some people say, well, that doesn't feel like much. It's enough to create movement into the body. It creates the same amount of movement as a forceful manipulation, because you don't have to worry about the non-target tissue around the area. So
because you're so precise in where you're
precise,
placing it.
so you're both creating the same, what the literature shows, you're creating the same amount of bone movement. More importantly, you're stimulating what we call the mechanoreceptors around the joints and into the ligaments, which are important in giving neurological feedback back into the body. So you're affecting that neurology, which really helps to make a lot of the change in the body.
Sure.
So it's a nice way of adjusting people or manipulating. Adjusting is the chiropractic term, manipulation would be the lay term or the scientific term, of creating change without trauma. And patients
and this
like
can be used on, can it be used on any body part that you would be
You can use it on extremities,
adjusting?
so you could use it on the wrist, the ankle, the shoulder. You can use it on the spine for sure. You can use it for some soft tissue work to do trigger points.
Okay.
And one paper that came out in the UK back in the mid-2000s, it showed that the activator was 7 times more effective with trigger points than traditional myofascial release. So there's a lot of different applications that you can use it with. And it's also, from a doctor perspective, it's nice around the doctor.
I was going to say it, yeah.
Because it's
I mean, your
less
hands,
stress on your body.
right.
Being able to practice for 42 years, I can contribute that to a lot of being able to do in the activator all these years. And I taught for activator for 34 years all over the world, teaching seminars.
So you would go and you would travel to different places and
Travel
instruct
different
chiropractors on
cities
how to
and
use the tool and the
different
instrument?
countries, and show them how to use the instrument, show them the advanced techniques and things
So
like that.
you really know your stuff.
I would hope so.
I mean,
After-
that's impressive to be able to travel around the world and show other people how to make a big difference in doing that.
I remember one seminar in Minneapolis, I had a doctor in my class who was 92 years old,
That's
still
excellent.
practicing.
Never too old to learn, right?
Exactly, and he was still using that, and he attributed his longevity to using activator and be able to...
Sure, because like you mentioned, it wasn't harsh on his own body,
Exactly.
you know, practicing it.
He said he was from South Dakota. He tried to retire, he said, but his patients kept showing up at his house. So.
Well, it's a good thing that Jamal, your son,
Exactly.
entered the practice with you, because I think that you would run into that issue as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to retire, so I'm staying with part-time, which is good. And at this point, I'm 67, almost 68, so I'll be able to be active and keep working at this point is a great thing, because I see a lot of my patients, some of them, not a lot, but some that have been forced to retire for whatever reason from their different jobs. So I feel fortunate that I have the ability to keep working.
But I think you were ahead of
less.
the game, you know,
Yeah,
and you do things to take care of yourself proactively. And
Absolutely.
kind of segue into my next question
go ahead, sure.
was, you know, best tips for seniors. So, you know, many members of our audience are, you know, senior citizens, and, you know, what are the best tips that you can give someone to be proactive, to not end up at your office, or if they do end up at your office, you know, what things can be done?
Sure. What you want to look at is from a senior perspective, and what the scientific literature shows is motion is the most important thing. For many people in our society, it's a very sedentary society. People are sitting way too much.
Oh, and I remember one time you told me that great quote, sitting is the new...
Sitting is the new smoking, yes, exactly. So if you can get up and move around, it makes a difference. So what I tell patients and what I tell anybody, not even my senior patients, but even all levels, is getting up on a regular basis.
Yep.
If you have a desk job, get up at least every 50 minutes. If you can do it more than that, even better.
Especially if you're
Especially if you're on a computer, because you got the
looking at your
forward head
phone.
posture, internal rotation, creates a lot of stress, neck, shoulders. You got compression from your spine, from sitting too much. So
you're
getting
making
up,
me sit up straighter as
there you are. It's sitting up straight. Think about just tightening your core, doing some abdominal bracing, getting that going. And also, one of the big things for seniors, not enough motion, so getting more motion is important, and balance. So balance is a key, because what happens is when you're 60 or over, balance becomes more probable that you're going to have issues with it.
Okay.
So if you can start doing things at a younger age, most certainly work with balance. And if you're a senior, you can still do things with balance. So what could be helpful for balance? Tai Chi has been shown in the scientific literature.
And that's very gentle on your body.
Very gentle, rhythmic motion, very symmetrical, can help to establish core stability and balance.
And you go at your own pace, because
And
some
you
people
go at
get
your own
worried about
pace,
doing
exactly.
things in a group setting and not being able to keep up.
And many of the towns around here have senior centers which
Yes,
teach
and that
Tai
is
Chi.
one of the programs that's offered
Exactly,
in a
and
lot
Tai
of
Chi
towns.
can be really excellent for that. Qigong, which is very similar to Tai Chi, again, creating motion and balance, and yoga. These are all things.
yeah,
And
yoga's
again, just
great.
like you've mentioned, Jen, going at your own pace. I always tell people, don't try and keep up with the person next to you. Just do what you can do.
Right.
And as you do it more, you'll get better at it. But if you can develop that balance, that can prevent you from possibly falling. Because with seniors, falling and getting injured is a big problem.
Sure, and I mean, and we're just coming out of, well, hopefully, we're coming out of winter, you know, and I know that there's typically an increase in visits, I'm sure, from people falling, and
Well,
it's not
we
just
do see a lot of
balance.
people falling in the winter when, you know, we have the ice and the snow. And I remember the winter in 2015 when we had that abnormal amount of snow.
Yes.
I had people falling off of roofs because they were up there shoveling their roof, and then they would come in and they would have
Right.
major issues because of injuries from falling off the roof. So that, falling on the ice can be very, very tricky, shoveling snow, all these
Well,
things.
shoveling snow is a big one. We just had a client of ours that should not, or even snow blowing. You think that snow blowing is, but there takes some effort
It takes a
behind
lot
the
of effort to do
snowblower.
snow, yeah.
And when the snow
You
is
got to be able
really
to push
heavy.
the snow, and if you have heavy, wet snow, the snowblower becomes very
so-
difficult to navigate, and that can create some more issues for you. So, snow blowing, shoveling, all these things done in correct postural positions can make a significant difference. And thinking about another thing, just for seniors and for everybody, thinking about not bending at the waist for things, using your legs as much as
Right.
possible. Because when you bend at the waist, you increase discal pressure by about 100%. So you got more chance of creating low back issues. If you
And that
bend
seems
and
to
twist,
be the spot that, no matter what your age is, that seems to be the spot that you first really feel.
well, if you think about
some
low
pain.
back, 85% of the population will experience low back at some time in their life. Or low back is more popular than the common cold. In all seriousness, it's very, very popular. Almost everybody has low back issues.
Yep.
Why do they have low back issues? Too much sitting, too much driving,
Yep.
too much
Or bending over, no,
bending,
not
the
bend,
wrong,
yeah, not using your
repetitive
legs.
bending, not using your legs, not enough exercise. All these things are important. Not enough motion. So just going out for short walks. I've had particularly seniors say, "Well, I can't go for a mile; it's too far." I said, "Well, just go out for 5
quarter
or 10
mile,
minutes.
right.
Walk up and down the street, come back, do it a couple times a day.
Right.
As you get endurance, as you get a little stronger, you can go a little further. So you just try and increase that function a little bit more. And the more you do it like that, the better it's going to be for you. It's
Absolutely.
going to help you become stronger and help with balance issues, all that kind of thing. So
Because it's like a vicious cycle.
it
You know,
it
you
certainly
have to be
is.
able to break the cycle at some point, and you know, and I know that you've contributed largely to a lot of people breaking their cycle, just helping them to be proactive. So
Exactly.
could you share a success story, something that, I know you have 42 years in practice, I know you have many, many, many of them, but any success stories, something that you've been really pleased with in terms of the outcome?
I could say also, just being in practice that long, I've had probably over a dozen patients who became chiropractors.
Oh, that's
because they
an
were
accomplishment.
yeah,
Wow.
they were the care had, they felt, changed their lives. Particularly, people say, well, how could that be? I say, well, look, if you can't put your shoes and socks on, and you can't get dressed because your back is in such
Right.
bad
You can't
shape,
do anything.
that pretty much negates what you can do for
Right.
anything for the day. So to be able to start being active and be able to participate in activities again makes a big difference in someone's life. So that I attribute to a lot of as a success.
That is a huge success
a
story.
success right there. That and I try and also kind of live the principles of taking care of myself, being active, exercise,
You're a great
do
example,
things to
'cause,
make people.
you stay in shape. You certainly don't look your age.
Thank you,
And
very,
that's,
very
you know,
kind.
and you definitely, you live your motto. You live what you practice what you
My
preach.
experience is if I tell someone these are the things you should do and I don't look like I'm doing that,
Right.
why would they listen to me?
This is true.
So I try to live the lifestyle so that I can do the things I want. Plus, I want to be able to have fun with my grandchildren
That's
at this
right.
point.
That's right.
And participating with my
All the
grandchildren.
years of hard working, now that you're working part-time, you can enjoy the things that you want to enjoy.
Exactly. So I stopped teaching last year after 34 years on the road and being all over the world, which was a great experience, and I enjoyed it greatly. I don't miss the plane rides or the sitting in the airports with missed flights and all that, or that kind of thing. But
That's when you really
did
had to
enjoy
be dedicated to getting up and walking around in the plane and doing
oh
all of
yes,
that.
many of those long, like flying to Tokyo or Australia. You know, those were long flights, and getting up and moving around made a big difference and
Absolutely.
helped me a
So,
lot.
what would you say? You know, you said balance is a common an issue. What would you say is another issue that seniors face that chiropractic care might be beneficial for?
Getting more joint mobility. So many seniors have arthritic changes. We all have arthritic changes.
Sure.
As you get older, osteoarthritis is not unusual to have in your spine. By age 60, virtually everybody has
More common than
changes
not.
in their spine. So that creates lack of joint motion, lack of joint function. So if we look at, I don't know if you can see this model, but this is what a normal vertebra looks like. This is a normal disc, and you can see the disc is
It's
very thick. The spacing between the nerve root, where the foramen, where the nerve root comes out, is nice. The facet area, where the vertebra move
So
against
nothing's
each other, is
touching.
nice and smooth, and it moves nice and easily. So as you start to get spinal dysfunction, you can see how the disc becomes a little bit more compressed. You start to get some narrowing of the foraminal opening, and then you start to get some wear and tear on that facet where they become irritated. You start to get some inflammation around that area, some chemical waste byproducts start to build up in there. Calcium will start to develop
Sure.
after a while because of these degenerative changes, and then each progressive level shows that that disc will become even more compressed, and then the nerve root will get more compressed, and then there's a lack of motion. Instead of free motion here, it becomes
wow.
very
The
stuck and
differences.
stiff. You can see the difference till it becomes severe degeneration where it's not moving pretty much at all. So with seniors, you have different levels of this going on. Some are going to have severe, some are going to have moderate, some are going to have mild, or a combination of all those things.
Sure.
So what chiropractic can address is you're not going to get rid of the degeneration.
Sure.
That's there. What you can help is getting more joint mobility, more joint function. If we can get that function to improve, then that's going to help their nervous system, improve
Pain and
we
chronic.
decrease pain,
Sure.
improve function. Now, just to give you another part to this, we all know about the big opioid issues at this point.
Right.
And there was just a recent study that showed that people that were under chiropractic care were 55% less likely to have an opioid issue compared to people that weren't.
And we do know that, unfortunately, you know, the opioid crisis. The awareness is very much on the younger population, but we've been recently made aware of the impact, unfortunately, it's happening on the senior population.
Senior population as well, and a lot of the seniors don't express it, or we don't know about it.
You don't know that there are other options such as
exactly,
this
exactly. So if you can work to increase motion and function back in these joints, that's going to help mediate the pain.
So you're saying, because a lot of people will say, well, the problem's already there. I already have the disc.
Mm-hmm.
Even if there's an issue and that's not going anywhere and that's not, other things can still be done.
You can still do things to improve function, yes.
See, that's great to hear.
You're not going to make them, I always tell patients, look, you're not going to be like you were when you were 16.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
No.
But we can help to improve that joint function, decrease the pain, increase mobility, and just make your life, a big victory is if you couldn't walk up the stairs and now you can walk up the stairs. That's big.
Huge.
If you couldn't get in and out of the car without a lot of pain, now you can get in and out of the car. That's big. So look at these activities of daily living. If you can improve that function, that goes a long way to making your life a lot more
and being more independent for
and
as
more
long
independent.
as you can.
Exactly. Independence is the key. And by having good spinal function, good spinal alignment, that makes the difference in having a healthier lifestyle.
It sure does. I mean, a combination of all these things that you've mentioned, just being proactive, staying flexible, staying balanced, having that sort of joint, movement, and this is one part of the spine. Really, it's any part of the spine.
Right.
This
is a model of the lumbar spine, the low back.
Right.
This is a model of the cervical spine, which would be the neck. So, and the same thing is going to happen in the neck. The neck is a smaller area compared to the lumbar spine, but both areas, the whole spine, the spine's coming from the base of your skull right down to your tailbone. So you're having
There's a lot of space there.
It's a lot of space, right? You got 7 cervical vertebrae in the neck, you got 12 thoracic vertebrae where the ribs attached to, and then you have 5 lumbar vertebrae.
Right.
And then the sacrum at the base, which is a triangular shaped bone underneath that 5th lumbar, and then the tailbone, the coccyx. So it's a big system, and they all needs to work together.
So what we're saying in a nutshell is chiropractic, being proactive or being reactive if somebody has an accident, is an incredible value to increasing someone's life.
I tell people
how well
there's a couple of
feeling.
things you can do here. You can come to me when you have an issue, a crisis, and we can help to alleviate that crisis, reduce the pain, improve function, and get you into a more stable position. And I say to them, you have a choice here. You can stop care if you want, or you can come for a wellness or maintenance basis. And why would you do that? You'd want to use that as a preventative. If we can keep that spine balanced and aligned, keep your nervous system working better, you're going to be a healthier person for it. Can't guarantee that you will not have a problem, but if you're on top of that and you keep on a regular basis, we find that our maintenance patients do better, or our wellness patients do better than patients that wait till a crisis. Now, not everybody wants to do that.
Right.
And that's up to them. It's you choose what kind of care that you want to have. If you want to have.
So I'm going to use your motto to close up the segment.
Go ahead.
Don't let your spine get on your nerves. So
Correct.
Thank you, Dr. Tom DeVita.
My pleasure.
Appreciate
Thank you for asking
coming.
me to come.
All right.